After 14 years of raising my son, I found out I'm not his real dad. Now my wife's leaving me to start a happy family with his biological father. This is a bit of an emergency, so I'll get right into it. I'm a 40-year-old male and had been married to my soon-to-be ex-wife Megan, who's 38, for almost 12 years. We have a 14-year-old son, Johnny, or at least I thought he was my son all these years. Megan and I met at work, and we had only been dating for 1 year when she found out she was pregnant. I was a bit skeptical about having a baby so early in our relationship, but she wanted to continue with the pregnancy, so I decided to support her. We moved in together shortly after learning about the pregnancy. When Johnny was born, it never even occurred to me to get a paternity test. Megan and I were in love, and I was certain Johnny was mine. He even resembled me with his dark hair and eyes, so I had no reason to be suspicious. However, a couple of months ago, I found out that Johnny is not my biological son, and Megan had been deceiving me the entire time. 3 months ago, she came clean and confessed that she had been having an affair with her high school sweetheart, Nathan, who is also 38. She admitted that they had been seeing each other for the past few months, and even during the early days of our relationship, she had a fling with him while we were together. She never told me about it because she found out she was pregnant soon after. One of the main reasons Megan and Nathan split after high school was because he wasn't serious about his life and didn't go to college. He was still living with his parents, jumping from one job to another. Megan wanted stability, which is why she chose me, as I was career-driven. She admitted that she saw me as the safer bet. But now, she claims she realized money isn't everything, and she's in love with Nathan. Since Nathan has now become a business owner, she doesn't have to worry about financial stability anymore. When she finally came clean, she told me she had known from the beginning that Johnny wasn't mine because she had a paternity test done early on. She chose to keep quiet because I seemed so happy to be a father, and she didn't want to ruin our relationship. She also made Nathan promise to never speak of their affair to protect her happiness. They reconnected at a high school reunion about 6 months ago, rekindling their relationship, and she realized she still loved him. That's when she decided to leave me. It was a horrible time for me. I had built a life with Megan, and suddenly, I was betrayed. After her confession, Megan packed up and left, but Johnny stayed with me because he didn't want to go with her. She hadn't even consulted me before telling him the truth, so when I came home from work, he already knew everything. We both consoled each other as our lives were turned upside down. Despite the divorce, I knew I wanted to maintain shared custody of Johnny. Biological or not, I raised him as my son, and nobody, not Megan or Nathan, could take that away. I filed for divorce within hours of learning the truth. The terms were simple and fair. I would keep everything, and Megan shouldn't expect alimony since she had been a stay-at-home mom for 14 years and had cheated on me. Megan contested the divorce, demanding alimony and a large settlement, which I was prepared to fight. However, she made matters worse by filing for full custody of Johnny 3 weeks ago. She and Nathan planned to move to another city to open a branch of Nathan's business and wanted to take Johnny with them. They offered me visitation rights, but she wanted full custody to start her new life with Nathan. I refused to let that happen, and when mediation failed, we ended up in family court. I was confident about my case, but Megan and Nathan started lying in court, trying to portray me as an unfit father. Even though Johnny said he wanted to stay with me, they accused me of manipulating him. They claimed I was too much of a workaholic to care for Johnny and that he'd be better off with Megan. They even brought up the fact that I wasn't Johnny's biological father, complicating the case further. Since the divorce proceedings began and Megan moved out, we had an informal agreement about Johnny's schedule. He'd spend the first 4 days of the week with Megan and Nathan and come to me for the weekend. I thought this arrangement would continue after the divorce, but Megan's sudden move and custody filing changed everything. In a recent family court hearing, Johnny shocked everyone by revealing that he had overheard Megan and Nathan conspiring with their lawyer. They were planning to lie about me in court, claiming I was abusive and neglected Johnny, in an attempt to gain full custody. Johnny made it clear that I had never mistreated him and that it was Megan and Nathan who were using him as a pawn in their custody battle. Their initial accusations were that I was too absorbed in work, neglecting Johnny's education and personal life. They falsely claimed I never attended his parent-teacher conferences and left all the parenting to Megan. These accusations were easy to refute, but Johnny overheard them planning to escalate their lies by accusing me of physical and emotional abuse, which was completely untrue. Johnny stated in court that he wanted to stay with me, not just because his life is here, but because Megan and Nathan were trying to manipulate the situation to make me look like the villain. He also pointed out how they were using him as a tool to win the custody battle, which they hoped would give Megan a better outcome in the divorce. Johnny's statement turned the case in my favor, but the fight is far from over. She even had the audacity to cheat on me despite being heavily reliant on me. She believed she deserved the alimony and settlement she was demanding and planned to use Johnny's custody as leverage against me to force a favorable divorce settlement. Johnny overheard her on the phone, saying that once she got the money from the divorce, she would invest in Nathan's business to help it grow. They were so excited discussing this that they didn't realize how loud they were being. Unfortunately for them, they forgot that Johnny was still staying with them at the time and hadn't yet returned to me. He was standing right outside the door and heard everything. After Johnny exposed Megan and Nathan in court, the whole room was in shock, and the meeting was adjourned because the lawyers started getting too loud. I was satisfied with how things had unfolded, especially when I turned to look at Megan, and she had her head in her hands, gripping her hair as if she might tear it out. It was clear everything Johnny had said was true, and she knew she was in serious trouble. As Johnny and I were about to leave and head home together, Megan, furious, rushed up to us, grabbed Johnny by the arm, and started shaking him. She demanded to know why he would say such things in court and ruin his chance of living with her and Nathan. I lost my temper when I saw her shaking him. I stepped between them and pushed her back to prevent her from laying another finger on him. Thankfully, my lawyer captured everything on camera, and will definitely use that footage in our next session. I told her to back off, reminding her that this mess was her own doing. I was proud of Johnny for standing up for himself and not becoming the spoiled, greedy person she had hoped he would be. Still enraged, Megan wasn't done. Nathan came to her defense, yelling at us about how much she had done for our family and how we weren't allowing her a real shot at happiness with him. I didn't even bother responding to him. Instead, I started heading back to the car with Johnny. But Megan wasn't letting go. She clung to Johnny, insisting that he wouldn't go home with me because I was brainwashing him against her. She declared that she would ensure I lost not only full custody but also visitation rights. Bold words from someone just exposed as a liar planning to manipulate the court for money she didn't deserve. I told her to let go of Johnny or I'd call the cops. She claimed she had the right to dictate where Johnny went because she was his mother. Johnny, meanwhile, was trying to free himself from her tight grip. Finally, he pushed her hard to escape and got into the car, slamming the door shut. Megan, now screaming at the top of her lungs, accused me of encouraging Johnny to attack her, saying she wouldn't let it slide. While Johnny had pushed her, it wasn't an attack, he just wanted to free himself. And though Megan stumbled, Nathan caught her, so no real harm was done. But they stood in front of our car, shouting that they would make sure I lost custody because I was teaching Johnny to be violent when things didn't go my way. I honked until they finally moved, and Johnny and I were able to drive home. A few days have passed, and I'm still unsure if I should have reprimanded Johnny for pushing his mother. He seems blissfully unaware, but I'm conflicted. While he is very strong and did shove Megan hard, I feel like the situation justified his actions. However, Megan might have had a point. Johnny has had issues with violence in the past, and I don't want him to think it's okay to act like that in other situations. To clarify why I said Johnny has had problems with violence, a few months ago, he was being bullied at school, but he never told us. One day, we got a call from the principal saying Johnny had been in a fight and was injured, but the other boy was hurt even worse. Apparently, the bully had been harassing Johnny for weeks, and though Johnny initially ignored it, things escalated when the boy started cursing our family. Johnny told him to stop several times, but when the bully vandalized his locker, Johnny snapped and punched him, leading to a hallway fight. I told Johnny that violence wasn't the solution, but I was also proud of him for standing up for himself. He has never been violent unless he felt pushed to the edge, and in the situation with Megan, he was just trying to free himself, not hurt her. Megan is twisting the narrative, using this against us in court, but I'm not going to second-guess myself. Tomorrow, we have a crucial day ahead. First, we'll meet with the lawyers to work on the divorce settlement, and then we'll meet in court regarding Johnny's custody. After everything that was revealed in the previous session, I'm confident Megan and Nathan don't stand a chance. Johnny has made it clear he doesn't want to live with his mom, not just because he doesn't want to relocate, but because she and Nathan are terrible people who won't raise him well. Johnny told me earlier that he's nervous about seeing his mother again tomorrow. It'll be the first time since the incident, and though he's trying hard not to care about her feelings, it's tough. She's still his biological mother, and after spending so many years together as a family, it's difficult for him to come to terms with the truth. Now, he told me he was really afraid of what would happen if, by some fluke, he ended up being handed over to Megan and Nathan. I reassured him that it wasn't going to happen. I would go to any court in the world to make sure he could stay with me because he is my son. I don't care about some stupid paternity test. If I say he's my son, then he's my son. That seemed to make him feel slightly better, but I could tell the whole situation had been taking its toll on him. I don't even know how I'm going to handle things if I do get custody. How do we recover from this? Eventually, his mother is going to leave the city with Nathan, and after everything that has happened, I doubt she'll want to see Johnny again if she doesn't get custody. She's just that kind of person. But I don't want him to lose his relationship with her, because I'm afraid he might resent me in the future. Anyway, we're leaving now. Tomorrow might not be the final day of this case, but for both Johnny's sake and mine, I hope it is. Update 2. Hi, something very strange happened just now. It's almost 4 a.m., and I was asleep when, about an hour ago, someone rang the doorbell. When I went to check, there was nobody outside, just a brown envelope left at the door. I even checked the security footage, but the person who left it was dressed all in black with a hood pulled over their head, so I couldn't tell who it was. They were taller than 5 feet 3 inches, so it couldn't have been Megan, and they either looked a bit chubby or were wearing a bulky hoodie. Either way, I don't think it was Nathan. This is where things got weird. The envelope contained paternity test results, positive ones. The results were from the same lab we went to a couple of months ago, when Megan told me Johnny wasn't biologically mine and showed me test results saying we weren't a match. I'd gotten tested 3 times just to be sure, and all 3 tests confirmed her claim. I was convinced Johnny wasn't my biological son. But the results in the envelope said otherwise. According to these new results, Johnny and I are actually a match. Now, I'm completely confused. I don't know which results are real and which are fake. I'd always had trouble believing Johnny wasn't my son. He looks so much like me, and I've never felt like he wasn't mine. So whoever sent these new test results is messing with my head just before our custody hearing. I called the lab, but of course, no one answered since it's early morning. The first thing I'm doing tomorrow is going to the lab to figure this out. I've also spoken to my lawyer, and we'll sort something out. I'm planning to get tested again, but I'm not telling Megan this time. I have a nagging feeling that I'm finally going to get some answers tomorrow. Update 3. Hey everyone, today was a long day. First, I went to the lab with Johnny and my lawyer to ask about the results I received last night. Before I could even speak to anyone, a guy who seemed to be in charge pulled us aside and confessed that he was the one who slipped the envelope under my door. He hadn't actually expected me to come by. He explained that when we first got tested, Megan and Nathan had already spoken to him. After figuring out which lab the court used, they made an arrangement for him to falsify the results, showing them as negative so Megan could claim Johnny wasn't my son and take him away. Apparently, she assumed that once I found out Johnny wasn't biologically mine, I'd give up on him. When I didn't back off after the first test and got tested 2 more times, she had the same guy fake those results too. She promised him a partnership in her future business once she got money from the divorce settlement, and he went along with it. He had a change of heart recently after Megan told him that things were taking longer than expected and that the business wouldn't start for a few more months. He realized she was immoral and unethical, so he decided to send me the real results anonymously. I was dumbstruck. I had never imagined Megan capable of something like this. The guy apologized for everything and begged me not to involve him, saying he wanted to remain anonymous. I was upset, but I decided not to turn him in for now since I had the proof I needed to establish paternity. If I ever need it, I'll use this as evidence, but for now, I just wanted to move on. Then I went to court. Before the scheduled meeting for the divorce settlement, I pulled Megan aside. She was surprised, but I told her I had the real paternity test results. She instantly understood that I knew about her fraud. She tried to act innocent, but I made it clear that paternity fraud is a serious offense. I gave her a chance to avoid more trouble if she agreed to my divorce settlement terms and signed away her parental rights over Johnny. She agreed to the settlement but hesitated to sign away her rights, claiming she was his mother and couldn't let him go. I wasn't buying it. I told her no mother would do something like this to her own son, and she needed to make a decision, comply with my terms or face bigger problems. After arguing for about 10 minutes, she finally gave in. We settled the divorce, and my lawyer and I were thrilled. Megan even agreed to terminate her parental rights over Johnny in family court. This took everyone by surprise, considering how hard she'd fought for custody over the past weeks, but I didn't care. I had one. Johnny was finally mine. Now, in a few days, my lawyer will draw up the papers, and Megan will officially sign away her rights. It will just be me and Johnny against the world, which honestly, it has felt like for months already. I can't wait for this to be over so I can finally move on. Johnny is incredibly happy, and so am I. We're just trying to make the most of that.